Europe is costing the British taxpayer £53 million every single day. What could we do with £53 million? We're propping up Europe. What could the British government do with £53 million? And why would we give £53 million every single day to Europe? The reason why we're giving £53 million a day to Europe is the only people who are benefiting is big businessmen. Big businessmen who are paying our politicians to stay in Europe. David Miliband, our local MP, earned £1 million last year from big business for staying in Europe. Why would he do that? To make himself a rich man. Tony Blair is earning £12 million a year from big business and on the back of our dead soldiers, sending our soldiers to Iraq and Afghanistan in illegal wars. We should be protecting our own borders, not fighting illegal wars. Well, the likes of Tony Blair is earning £12 million on the back of our dead soldiers from big business now in the Middle East. Surely that's morally wrong. We need to come out of Europe, ladies and gentlemen. It's costing us £53 million every single day. It's costing our children jobs. Because whilst we're in Europe and opening our borders to every single country in Europe, next year, when Bulgaria and Romania come in, there'll be another million and odd people coming in, taking our jobs off our children. We can't afford to stay in Europe, ladies and gentlemen. We need to be Great Britain again. We're not Great Britain. 90% of our laws are made in Europe. We need to be making our own laws again. When foreign criminals come into our country and break our laws, bomb our people, we're not even allowed to extradite them. We're not even allowed to send them back because European law gives them a priority over the victims. We need to come out of Europe, ladies and gentlemen, and be Great Britain again. My forefathers fought for this country. Fought for this country to keep us safe from fascists. But fascists have been allowed to come into our country. We've let our borders be open. Our borders were protected after the Second World War. Our borders are now open to all and sundry, but to come in and to bomb our own citizens. Surely that's wrong. It's morally wrong to let people come into our country and bomb us from within. We should be taking our troops home, away from illegal wars, and protecting our own borders. £53 million. £53 million every single day. That's how much taxpayers' money we're spending staying in Europe. Surely that's wrong. Why would you want to stay in Europe and spend £53 million a day? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you why you want to spend £53 million a day to stay in Europe. It's so big businessmen who own, say, chains of hotels, big businessmen are happy because they want cheap labour. And whilst they're getting cheap labour, they're happy. So the politicians then get jobs off these big businessmen. Our own MP, David Miliband, earned £1 million last year. £1 million. How can you earn £1 million when you can't even beat your own little brother in an election? Well, he did. He earned £1 million from big businessmen because he used our vote in South Tyneside to stay in Europe. He used our vote. He never asked us what. He did it slyly, used our vote and said, yeah, South Tyneside people want to stay in Europe. Well, I certainly don't. I want us to come out of Europe. I want us to be Great Britain again. I want us to make our own laws again. I want us to extradite people that break laws, foreign criminals that break laws. I want us to be Great Britain again. I want our children to have jobs and a future again. We're not getting that. Because big business are holding us down, politicians are holding us down, greedy politicians. Bear in mind that Labour's got several politicians, several MPs at the moment, currently serving prison sentence for stealing from the British public. They're MPs for God's sake, but they're in prison for stealing from the British public. That's the people you're dealing with. That's the people you're voting for. What I'm saying to you today, ladies and gentlemen, forget whatever political differences you've got. Is sign our petition, come out of Europe, save the British taxpayer £53 million every single day. Places like Alcan plant in Northumberland cost 600 jobs last year. 600 North East jobs went last year. Because the reason why them jobs was given away, because Europe said, we want emission taxes from you. Emission taxes that bankrupt the Alcam plant. So 600 North East lads and lasses lost their jobs. Because they couldn't afford to stay and compete with the third world like China and India. They couldn't afford to do that because they're not paying them emission taxes. Come out of Europe today, ladies and gentlemen. Sign our petition today. Sign our petition and let's get us out of Europe. If you've got children and you care about your kids and you want your kids to get a job, come out of Europe. Because next year, when Bulgaria and Romania are allowed to come into our country's absolutely had it. Because what chance have you got? You're pushed to the back of the queue. Labour introduced a law into our country called positive discrimination. Let me tell you about positive discrimination, ladies and gentlemen, that Labour introduced it. I believe it came about by a chap in Leicester who was a gardener. He had all the qualifications to work for the council. He applied for several jobs, he couldn't get a job. Until one of his friends said, the reason why you can't get a job is because they're giving all the jobs to all the Asian immigrants. So he applied for his job in several different names. Next time a job came up, 3 in indigenous British names, 3 in Muslim names. What happened was he got a job, he got an interview for all the foreign names, but not for any of the English names. So he took Leicester County Council to court, and he won his case. So what Labour did, to avoid that happening again, they introduced a law called positive discrimination. And they introduced it without police force and without councils. So now our police force and our councils, it's law, it's British law, that if you was born in this country, or if you had children, and they went to university and had all the qualifications in the world, and a foreigner came into this country and applied for the same job, the council and the police force could turn around and say, well, even though you've got all the qualifications and you was born in this country, we have to, by law, employ people from minorities. What country in the world would come up with a law like that? But Labour introduced that. It's called positive discrimination. And positive discrimination, it only discriminates people that came from this country. Now it's costing us £53 million a day to stay in this to stay in Europe. We need to come out of Europe, ladies and gentlemen. £53 million a day. What could we buy with £53 million every single day? £53 million today, £53 million tomorrow. For propping up Europe, that only protects very, very, very rich people, big businessmen who own hotel chains. They want us to stay in Europe. And the reason why they want us to stay in Europe is so they can have cheap labour. Where if it wasn't Europe, they'd have to employ people from this country. They don't want that, so they use our politicians like our local politician, David Miliband, voted on your behalf to stay in Europe. Why would he do that? Why would David Miliband vote on your behalf to stay in Europe? Let me tell you, because David Miliband earns £1 million a year. £1 million in 1 year from big business. Tony Blair, our ex-Prime Minister, is earning £12 million every single year. £12 million every single year on the back of our dead soldiers that he sent to Afghanistan and Iraq and illegal wars. We're suggesting, come out of Europe, bring our troops home and protect our own borders. Thank you very much.